You knew it. I knew it. It had to happen. They had to make a sequel to Taxi Driver, the hard-hitting, gritty 70s classic, and it's called The Intern.
It went under the radar for a little there.
Man, this was an unexpected 40 to 50-year gap between movies. But it happened, and he finally broke.
Yeah, dude.
Did Travis Bickle. Actually, we just saw The Intern, and, it's a movie we saw, and it's for old people.
Yeah.
There's a specific type of film that when you see it, you can't, if you're not in the, age group per se, you can't imagine yourself sitting in the theater watching it.
Yeah.
But you're not particularly at odds with watching it. You're just like,
that's a movie that exists.
Maybe I wouldn't feel very comfortable in the theater watching it.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that's a bad thing. I'm just saying The Intern is a movie that maybe you should watch by yourself, because then you'll feel really inappropriate watching it. And not in a weird pervy way, just like in a weird, like, am I old way?
I feel like if you're not of a certain age, you'll instantly assume that the entire movie is leading to hardcore intercourse between Anne Hath.
You know what? The way Hollywood is, and movies with starring an older lead and a younger female, and the way the theatrical trailer was cut, when I first saw this movie, I was like, they're gonna bone by the end, right? Not because I wanted them to bone.
Yeah.
In fact, every time
just
the first
assume
time
that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I just assumed that was gonna happen because of the way Hollywood is and the way this usually works out. But every time it seemed like, oh no, I actually feared it happening. I was like, no, don't ruin this.
Don't bone.
But they don't bone. So spoiler alert if you wanted some serious old man nuts slapping on some young cooch.
I feel like if Dan DeVito or Frank Reynolds had his way, there would definitely be a hardcore.
Oh, this would definitely be the triple X. But anyway, if you haven't seen The Intern, you probably made a conscious decision not to, but you should. You should probably see it, or at least I think so. I don't know what you think. We'll talk about it, but for the 1 trillion people in the universe that haven't seen it, it follows Robert De Niro's character, Ben, who is a kind of hard-working and very humble retiree and widower, by the way, who's kind of seeking a purpose in his life now that he's been retired for a while and alone for a while. So he goes to work for Jules, who's kind of like that would be Anne Hathaway, who's this very ambitious go-getter that just started this, a huge business online.
.com, if the guys of the gang would call it.
And, she's kind of aloof and standoffish and very guarded, but not, to reference another Anne Hathaway movie, not like a bitch like Anna Wintour was in The Devil Wears Prada. No, she's just kind of, a little weird, a little standoffish. But as is the expected formula, that either one, they're going to bang, or two, one is going to affect the life of the other in a positive and or negative way if this is truly a sequel to Taxi Driver. But that's the gist of The Intern. Robert De Niro, let's get this off before we get to what you thought about the movie. Robert De Niro has had kind of like a, shall we say, a negative impact in his general fan base in his later career because, the fan base that grew up with him expects him to be basically just murking fools.
Yeah.
24/7.
Or at least going the extra step for his role, almost murking his teeth.
Yeah, and or hating Mickey Rourke or some bullshit
some
like that.
shit like that.
However, as has been more often...
hearing things?
Oh, yeah.
He's really good at that.
That's important. He at least has to hear things, and here he actively is deaf. so he didn't hear things, So, man, a lot of people have kind of frowned on his later career, but he's like 1,000 guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's like literally a fucking old, crotchety man.
I do think that I think he's kind of out of it. I mean, I can't kind of really see any of his super recent films, but for a little bit there, he was kind of going on that old man versus old man.
I think
movie.
It mostly had to do around the time where the Fockers movies came out.
Yeah.
Series where I'm still unsure whether I'm okay with those movies existing or not. One, because generally they insult my being, but Two, because I actually saw them and they're kind of fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think really they insult me more because Ben Stiller's in them, and there's that whole Ben Stiller thing where you have to hate the movie he's in for at least 50% of the time it exists.
Did you hear?
What's that?
Ben Stiller is gonna freaking direct and star in a freaking Stephen King film.
What? Which
I
one?
forgot what it's called. Rats or some shit. I don't remember.
Rats?
I don't remember. Pets. I think it's like a one-word name. I don't remember. But yeah, he like freaking is trying to actively get it.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Chances are I'll hate it for 50% of the time it exists. But anyway, as for Robert De Niro, I've kind of like, don't get me wrong, not everything he's done in the last couple of decades is great. In fact, it's kind of, spotty at best. But every now and then he hits something where you're like, I like this, I want him to do the old stuff. But we also want, kind of instinctually, we want Harrison Ford to be Indiana Jones, but when we get him as Indiana Jones, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, straight mummy.
So you know what I'm saying? So I'm okay with him doing roles like this, especially if they're good. And I happen to think The Intern is a pretty good role for him, even though it plays completely against type for him. But anyway, tell me what you thought about this movie. Did you hate? Did you like? Did you want to punch Robert De Niro for not being Danny DeVito?
Well, obviously this movie would be improved and also gruesome as hell if Danny DeVito was in it.
Yeah, it would be nasty if he was in it.
But I actually really like this movie. It is definitely kind of an old man film or old person film. But there ain't nothing wrong with that. Every once in a while, I can pop in an old man film and enjoy it.
Yeah, the directress and writer Nancy Meyers is kind of known for making kind of like these adult-oriented dramedies. They kind of, it's actually a pretty decent balance of the whimsical and the dramatic, which
Yeah, I don't think it ever goes to a point where you're like, it's taking itself too serious.
Yeah.
Or...
It strikes a good balance, because usually when we have a dramedy, it leans more into one or the other.
Yeah.
And this, you can feel the majority of this stuff at least being somewhat plausible, And when it's not so overtly silly that you lose faith in the story.
Yeah.
And in fact, she's done this time and time again, and it's usually with an older cast of characters. This actually is kind of a predominantly young cast of characters, with Robert De Niro being mainly the one that's ancient as hell, unless you're counting Rene Russo's small role. But so she's kind of familiar with his ground, and she does it here again. This is my favorite one of the movies of hers that I've seen. Yes, I've seen a shocking amount of her movies, but there's not that many. But that's weird that I have. But I quite enjoy this movie, man. There's a lot of heart here. Maybe it's just like my I don't know, like this tendency to gravitate towards old fucks in me that
Please rephrase that.
Old fucks, man, ancient beings, crotchety.
Your tendency to gravitate to. All right.
Yeah,
not
man.
in a sexual way, I assume.
How is that? How do you take gravitate to the sexual territory?
Just the way you said it was disturbing.
Gravitating towards old fucks?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, the word fucks wasn't used in a hip thrusting fashion.
I don't know, dude. He does lay some pipe in this.
But yeah. In my personal life, I tend to gravitate towards
old fellas,
older gentlemen, especially gentlemen, I should say, because I think it's me trying to fill some gap with the absence of a father figure in my life. And the absence of male figures in my life, period. You know what I'm saying? That I can admire, that I can look up to, that I can, kind of emulate. So I think that's why I do that in life. So this movie struck a particular chord, because Robert De Niro's character is quite the admirable guy, He's kind of like this particular type of gentleman, to use the words in the movie, that is kind of vanishing, shall we say, from the social landscape, and it's something that we kind of need a resurgence of, if you will. So yeah, that's exactly what he embodies. And I also feel that this movie kind of like is trying to salvage in a lot, and it's good that it's coming from a woman too. It's trying to salvage the vestiges of masculinity.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of combativeness nowadays when it comes to the sexes. You know, I completely 100% understand that women have, you know, had a hard time in society. They've barely began to rise out of that and establish themselves.
But also, don't get offended when someone's trying to be nice to you.
Yeah, exactly. And then this movie strikes that balance, makes that point that, hey, man, we can exist together. We can. There's something to be gained from a relationship between a man and a woman that is of mutual respect and admiration. And granted, there's very few people that are worthy of that in the real world, but this is like an idealized version of that. Like, hey, man, there are people out there like that are worthy of that don't want something perverse from you, that don't want to apply their power or their position or their wisdom or whatever in any negative way. Thankfully, the movie does this in a very light sense. It's not dark in any fashion whatsoever. However, the way that trailer was cut, again, there's nothing ominous in the fucking trailer, but I was like, damn, they're gonna bone, right? I don't want.
I never seen the trailer, but as being a perverse, a heathen of a man,
being a mass of peni, writhing.
Damn, homie, this is not what penis is.
That's why you hide your face.
Yeah. Oh God. Damn, that derailed the shit out of me. Being a grotesque individual, I was expecting a straight banging at some point. And I gotta say that is kind of a refreshing thing, that there is no banging.
Yeah, man.
It's just like, this is a cool homie.
It's literally a man to be admired, you know? And the way they play his role, it's not condescending to newer generations either, which was a danger that you could play with too. You could be like, oh, you youngins, you don't do it like them oldsters used to. No, in fact, this guy waltzes into these people's lives and he shows respect. He earns respect by just being himself, and he just happens to be, an upright example of a fucking prime masculine figure. And because of that, as is wont to be with anybody that is a positive influence, everybody gains something out of it. And that might seem way too idealistic, but I've actually experienced that in the workplace, where somebody comes along that sets themselves apart and is hardworking and exemplary, and unless you're a complete buttbag, and there are those too, you can't help but admire the person and be like, damn, I gotta step up my game. So it's pretty cool to see a movie with that actually kind of like puts that, on a pedestal rather than kind of mocks it as is wont to be the course. But anyway, tell me something about this movie that you hate or like.
Well, I'm a lifelong and proud Anne Hathaway hater.
Apparently, somehow, even though we've established that the movies you've seen with her in it, you've liked.
No, I have nothing against her acting. There's like a douche star, and my douche star has been right many times. I get a douche star ping from her. I don't know why. But anyway, despite my pre-hate, or should I say pre-hate, man, you corny. I thought she was pretty cool in this. She starts off like you're like, tell me, but that's kind of the whole point, right?
Yeah.
And the way that she opens up to our boy, RDN.
Good old RDN.
Yeah, it's actually quite.
That's what they call him.
It's actually quite nice. Quite something you want. When you see it, you're like, damn, I wish I had a little RDN in my life. Also, RDN, as gotta stop calling him RDN. RDN, as you mentioned before we started watching, is old man cute. # old man cute.
I guess you wonder what old man cute is. Not that you want his biscuits.
No.
There's a certain type of there's a. I don't want to say it's all inclusive because it's not. There's definitely hideous men that suck balls like Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, you just want to murder, even though they're cool.
Yeah, cool, but want to punch them obviously. Yeah. But like George Romero, the famous director, when he was a certain age, he just turned into a turtle.
Straight turtle.
And the way he talked was so enthusiastic and positive that you were like, ooh.
Little turtle. He's had little.
You wanted to pet him.
He had little suits on that look like turtle shells.
There's a point where there's a certain age you do reach where you just kind of become like beyond human. You're just kind of like this totem of something. And in the case of George Romero, he was like,
turtle totem?
Yeah, he was a cute little turtle totem.
Yeah.
In the case of Robert De Niro's character here, or RDN as you're calling him apparently, yeah, he's kind of like this. Yeah, you just want to pet him, You're like, damn.
Yeah.
On top of admiring his ways, you're kind of like,
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Like since we've been, well, I don't want to say we've been on a recent De Niro kick, but we've watched some films with De Niro recently. Right. Even recent ones like Joker and if a Taxi Driver, that's not recent, but you know what I mean. Like we've seen other films with him recently, and it's kind of weird to see him do this role. I mean, I know he had a lot of old man roles, but even in those, it seemed like he was more like the wacky old man.
Yeah.
That fights the Stallone for some reason. Wasn't that a movie?
Yeah, Grudge Match.
Yeah. So it was interesting to see him in this role. It's very different from stuff that I've seen him in.
Yeah.
And he looks really small in this.
Well, yeah, he's not wearing his gigantic Frankenstein boots.
Oh, man, I forgot about his boots.
Yeah, never forget that De Niro wears mega lifts when he's trying to be cool.
Damn.
But here he's not trying to be cool. He's just trying to be this like little old man with good work ethic.
Yeah.
Big ass Franken boots aren't going to help that.
Damn, homie.
To your note about Anne Hathaway, I'm a Hathawayite. I've been a Hathawayan. There's no way to say this, right?
Hathaway.
There's a Hathaway to say it.
Yeah.
I've been a Hathaway fan since like the first time I saw her, which if you're from around my age group was probably The Princess Diaries. But she's had a very uneven career, not because of her acting skills, which are great, but because there's just a bunch of like weird stuff. Like she'll be in a great movie and then she'll be like in this like
It's like Jamie
then
Foxx.
she'll be in some movie where it's like that's a movie.
Yeah, like Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, exactly. Then she'll be in a movie where you're like, damn, she was totally naked in that. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But since I was on coincidentally, both De Niro and Hathaway filmography scrounge, this just happened across the right, two names off the list. So I was like, oh shit, yeah, I gotta watch this, and I was very pleased. Everybody across the board is good in this movie, but of course, these two kind of obviously and rightfully so steal the show.
They're basically the characters.
Yeah, the chemistry between them is undeniable. And
dude, I thought they were gonna bang like 50 times.
I know, man. There's so many scenes
where it's like straight up they're gonna freaking.
Where you're like in any other movie,
they would have had sex like hard.
And then trust me, we only say that because. And you gotta share this, otherwise you're just a perverse mass of peni, as aforementioned. During those scenes, again, knowing Hollywood's ways, I was like, don't make them bang.
Yeah.
Don't go there. And then they don't, thankfully, ever. But there were so many like plausible setups where you're like, oh no, don't ruin what's going on here. Because there is a kind of a magic to what's going on there, man.
I do feel that if this is your first time watching it and you have your unaware of everything, that might kind of be a hindrance. These scenes will come up and you're like, oh man, they're gonna bang.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, man. It's weird. It's hard to explain that, but it's weird. But it kind of also shows how close a relationship can be without being sexual. It shows how important normal relationships that are not sexual in nature can be, as well as those that include a sexual facet. I think that's very demonstrative of what's there. That there would be any semblance of that. But, but also, because we were trained by Hollywood to expect serious boning at all times. And why is it always like an old dude banging the young chick?
I mean, we know now why. Freaking all these old guys.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Wanting to bank babies and shit. Like, dude.
Thankfully, De Niro steers clear of that. But also, he might have not been able to reach because he didn't have his Franken boots on.
Damn, homie, he needs a bucket. Just the right height, no bucket required.
He does get a pseudo age appropriate partner.
Hell
in
yeah,
this
dude, he'd be laying mad pipe.
with Renee Russo, who I might say though, I think she's like maybe like 20 years his
Damn.
younger than him. His what is it?
Junior.
His junior, yeah. She doesn't have a good calf game. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
You're a calf guy.
It wasn't good. I wasn't gonna mention it because it's not the movie to mention.
I just feel that
Yeah,
the calves were on display.
Not game. Also, since you mentioned it, there's a scene in which Hath is, or should I say, feline female, is going into a building and her ankles are straight up breaking from the heels that she has on.
It's the way she walks.
I was like, damn, homie, how are those heels? How are those ankles not broken, dude?
She like turns her heels inward when she walks. Yeah.
Come on, God.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because I noticed that too the first time. And I know your theory is that whenever there's a chick who I like as an actress, that I must be oogling her.
Yeah.
But you're wrong, one.
Truth.
And two, the first time I saw this, I couldn't help but notice. It's just the way it's shot. You're like, damn, homie, them heels.
Them anks.
Totally broken. But yeah. It's funny that you noticed it because I was like, damn, homie.
Dude, them I don't understand how her freaking her ankles are not shattered into a trillion pieces.
Well, maybe they are. Maybe that's why she's going
Oh,
down.
yeah.
She broke them once and
I
it's
think
never healed.
an interesting thing is that where there's a homie that's straight up laying pipe on the side in this hit film, as in cheating on Hath, your girl.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't present him as like a straight up evil villain.
Yeah, you know what?
Which is kind of interesting. It's weird.
That's good. That's good that you pointed that out. That there's nuance in a lot of the characters. There's some characters that are there in the standard kind of comedy fashion.
Yeah.
Maybe not to those extremes of normal comedies, but in the important characters, there's a lot of nuance. And her husband is having an affair because he's kind of in the... First of all, that's a role reversal. Usually it's the woman that's having the affair because she feels left alone at home.
Yeah.
And, she's seeking to fill some sort of physical need and or emotional void. Now we present the husband in that role. And, contrary to the status quo, he's not just presented as 100% dick ball. You know what I'm saying?
Evil.
There's a gray area. There's that hints of complexity that might come still, that insecurity of the future.
Yeah.
They don't tidy this up completely at the end of the movie, at the end of the movie there's that this may not work element to it, but at least we fixed something and at least there's a chance of it working element, and it all comes from dialogue.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool, man. And even the way it ends, there's kind of like this, we've reached a plateau but not everything's not answered, so yeah, that is pretty cool, man.
You gotta wait 40 more years for the sequel, in which RDN is just a straight up corpse.
We're 36 years away.
Cool, dude.
Or so. He's like near his 80s now, right? He's like 76, I think.
He's pretty old, dude.
Anyway, he doesn't look like an ancient fucking wrinkly prune in it, so that's cool.
Yeah.
He does got the old man leg, and he does have the old man hand.
You got the old man foot.
But thankfully, we're not trying to present him like an action hero here.
Yeah.
So
that being
it all works out. He's pretty spry for an old man.
Yeah, he's pretty spry for an old man. There's that one comedy action sequence where they're breaking into a chick's home to steal something, and he's straight up like running and rappelling down freaking buildings and shit.
I don't know about all that, but
straight up whipping around and shit. I was like, damn, Spidey. That being said, I gotta call out Mickey Rourke for wanting to brawl this dude. This homie's like straight up 80, dude.
Yeah, what is that?
That's not cool.
I realize Mickey and him probably butted heads on the set. Or apparently, according to all accounts, or the ones we know, it's because Robert De Niro was trying to immerse himself in the role of Louis Cypher, the least cleverly named devil in a movie ever. So he suggested that they not interact. Yeah. Because they were supposed to be like at odds with each other in the movie. And then Mickey Rourke took that to heart, and there was some sort of, incident there. And because there was some sort of incident, it's highly suggested that he kicked his ass back then, Robert De Niro didn't want to work with him in The Irishman, which is why he didn't. He claimed that, Scorsese didn't even ask him. You know, I don't know. But the point is, Mickey Rourke now wants to kick his ass. I was like, dude, homie.
He's 95. That's not cool.
Yeah, at one point, you lose points for being a badass if you're beating up an old-ass man that wears Franken boots.
Granted, you look like a straight-up prune with a grotesque wig, but...
Yeah, how old is Mickey, though? Like 60-something?
Hey, he's got to be in his early 60s.
He's definitely not.
He's younger than freaking RDN.
Old. Yeah, so don't beat him up.
You can't beat up
man.
RDN, homie.
Come on. First of all, legend. You know, there's also that legend status.
Yeah.
So far that we know, De Niro hasn't Kevin Spacey'd everybody on the planet, so that's cool. You know, so just leave it. He's an old fart, man. Just leave it alone. Anyway, but if he does, I want front row seats.
Oh, hell yeah, I would buy that.
Totally weird.
Do a Grudge Match 2?
Somebody would be breaking.
Grudge Match 2.
I have a feeling Mickey would fucking break, dude.
Yeah, I think freaking...
He's looking
dude,
sickly.
Freaking RDN... I mean, I know Mickey Rourke was a boxer too, but RDN had that freaking boxer movie he was in? Straight up training and shit?
Yeah, I think RDN was probably better.
Oh, hell
obviously, Stallone would beat the shit out of both of them, but
well, yeah,
the point
Stallone's
is...
in good shape.
The point is, none of them are in good shape, except for Stallone, and he's not even part of this picture.
His face is definitely not in
For
good
that
shape.
matter, Mickey Rourke is not. Let's get back on topic here. The Intern, anything you want to add, good or bad, give it to me.
I think the biggest plus in this movie is restraint. There is a fat, funny character, but he's never fat and funny to the point. He's never the fat,
he's
funny
never
guy
the token fat guy.
that you're like, just kill this guy.
Yeah.
He's a disgrace to fat people.
And that generally holds across the board with any character that you
Yeah.
potentially see being a token style of character, whatever that may be. You know, fill in the gap for whatever type. They never really go there. They keep it grounded enough and yet loose enough for it to be comedic.
Yeah.
In that kind of welcoming way.
That too, you know, this is kind of like a dramedy. But again, it does strike that freaking balance that it's never too much comedy, but it's also never like, all right, this is corny. You know, it is a good balance. Also, I know we were established before that our daddy is Patrick Wilson, but I wouldn't mind sharing custody with RDN in
this version anyway.
Yeah, RDJ. Yeah. I don't know about Robert Downey Jr.
This version, yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, this movie is a De Niro vehicle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what shines the most, and that's the way it should be, because this movie has a great statement to make. As aforementioned, it's about establishing this idea that there can be, you know, a respectable form of masculinity out there, especially in the workforce, which, boy howdy, these last few years have been rough, huh? So yeah, that's pretty cool, man. And you know, Anne Hathaway is no slouch. She does a very good job of being in that second billing role. So they play off each other great. The chemistry is great, and the results because of that turn out great. So all in all, a tight little package. Just one of those kind of like movies that leaves you with a sense of stillness and warmth at the end.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, it's not for everyone.
It's not, but it should be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you know, some people need to see this movie. Let's be honest. You know, there's a lot of fucking dreck out there. You know, that needs to just be like, hey, you know what? This is kind of a movie we need.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In fact, that was kind of my like decision today. I was like, I could have shown you one of the meanest, cruelest, ugliest movies ever made, which I have before, by the way. But I was like, no, you know what? We need a little something lighter this go round. And then I was like, oh, this is the movie to see. By the way, that movie is Cannibal Holocaust. But anyway, you know, and that's, you know, it's not only a palate cleanser, but it's a movie that in some circles needs to be out there.
In many ways, The Intern is basically a remake of Cannibal Holocaust.
Especially the end where he consumes everyone.
Yeah. That was a weird twist ending.
Oh, yeah, that was a Sunday.
This is actually a sequel to Taxi Driver and Cannibal Holocaust. People, yep, just give up on that one.
New York Times says, whoop to that. Anyway, all right, man. Let's give The Intern a final score on a scale of 1 to 10. As far as, I guess...
Old man films?
Old man film, no. As far as, we could put this in a general category. We could go into drama. It could go into comedy. Give me your score.
I'll give it like a straight... I feel like maybe this is high, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, it gave me a new father. Patrick Wilson and him are gonna
tuck you in.
Yeah, they're gonna tuck me in at night. I didn't get to see his nuts, so that's always good.
Damn, that's a big positive, man.
Did see his old man foot, and that wasn't good. But
homie, it wasn't a grody ass foot.
True, and homie was freaking laying mad pipe, so I gotta give him high five for that.
Fortunately, the pipe was being laid onto bad gams having chick.
Yeah, dude, them freaking calves were not good. Freaking Anne Hathaway's ankles broke, so that's always good. I'll give it like a 8. I feel like I don't want to go higher, but realistically, on my scale, it would be like an 8.5.
That's a fair score, man. I'll give it an 8 too. This is just a feel good movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
FGM.
It's a movie that easily anybody can enjoy, even if they're super fucking young. Unless you're a cynical piece of shit, then you won't enjoy this. And really, you should use this movie as a fucking gauge for how much of a piece of crap you are.
God damn, this took a turn.
I'm serious though, don't you think? Like, if you go out of your way to hate this movie, I'm not saying you have to love it. I'm just saying if you go out of your way to hate it, and maybe, just maybe, you've gone too far on the cynicism scale. And I should know, I'm a cynical bastard myself, But that's why I kind of like watching movies like this, because sometimes I need that, I need to just reroute my course and go, yeah, homie, I like that. I like that, as Garth would say.
Damn, Garth.
So yeah, I'll give it an 8 too, man. It's just a feel good motherfucking movie with an exemplary character that you kind of want to be in your life and pet.
Yeah.
It's got the Anne Hath, which I know you hate, but there you go. You an 8. All jokes aside, where's your Anne Hath now? Is she still in your shit scale?
I still get douche vibes. I don't know why, dude. I think she's been doing some freaking weird.
There's a running gag in Two Broke Girls about them thinking that she's a douche.
Oh.
And if memory serves me right, it's just because they get a vibe.
Oh.
But I think that became a running joke because Beth Bears, one of the 2 stars of Two Broke Girls, has an uncanny resemblance to her. So I think that's where that came from.
That's still good, though.
But anyway, she actually, I've actually seen, and I can't remember which movie it was for, but it was definitely an Anne Hath movie because she was fucking doing behind the scenes on it. Otherwise, why would she be there? Cannibal Holocaust interview with Anne Hathaway.
Sage still.
But I remember seeing a behind the scenes where she addresses that, where she's like, I don't understand why people think I'm a bitch.
I have a feeling, dude.
But I don't know. She's very likable. I think.
I mean, I've said it before. I've never hated her in a role. I think she's a good actress. I just get a weird vibe.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Maybe times change. Maybe your diddle dar is going off.
Maybe that's what I'm.
But she's just like this, mom. She's
dude.
A mom. With a kid.
There's a lot of moms out there that are
diddling.
diddling.
Damn, homie. Anyway, let us know what you think about The Intern. If you haven't seen it, go see it and measure your cynicism and or ability to socialize.
Damn,
Could go either way. In the meantime, hit like, share, subscribe, and the notification buttons because we're out.